Let it go.
Are we all ready? G'day, I'm here at Murraylands Woodturners Club and I'm doing a demonstration here. Say hello everyone. Hello. And I'm about to demonstrate to them how I did this bowl. So this video is all about how I did this particular bowl.
Now this bowl is a composite of three things. The piece of timber in the middle, the white stuff is polyurethane resin, and the swirls in here are Swarf, that is the shavings from a drill bit. Now this is a piece of timber I'm using. It's a dark timber, and I've deliberately chosen a dark timber because the resin that we use, the polyurethane resin that we use, does, when it cures, go white, and I wanted to get the contrast of the timber against that white background. So I've chosen some blackwood or acacia melanoxylon. It's a wattle, an Australian timber. I'll just put that to one side. Oh, sorry, I have got a hole drilled in there, and I'll be putting that on a screw chuck on the lathe just to true this up in a sec. So that's what the hole's all about. Here is my mould. In fact, this bowl here came out of this mould. So the mould that I've chosen was a plastic bowl, and I've just chosen it because it's basically the right shape that I need for my final design. It gives me enough to be able to get a nice shape out of my bowl. The swarf, this is the swarf that I've used. It is once again blackwood, and what's quite important with the swarf I found is that swarf from side grain is quite a different shape to swarf from end grain. So you can see the holes that I've drilled in my blackwood here. So the grain's running this way. So I've drilled the holes this way, and this is the shape of the swarf that I've got out of that. If you drill into end grain, you'll get completely different shape swarf. The side grain swarf is a much better shape. You get all of these curls and fans and all different shapes. So perfect for this project. As I say, that's what gives you all of these patterns all around here. Now to the resin. I'm well known for using epoxy resin. This isn't epoxy resin, it is in fact polyurethane resin. In this case it's Solid Solutions Solid Cast 660 polyurethane plastic. Why polyurethane? Well, one of the advantages of polyurethane is that it sets or cures very, very quickly. In fact, on a day like today when it's around about 20 degrees, you've only got about 2 minutes to actually work with the resin once you've stirred it or mixed the two parts together and stirred it together. So it dries or cures very, very quickly. I can be turning this project within about half an hour of me mixing the resin itself. Now you can see these numbers here, 140 to 126, 76. Now they're just ratios for weight, but you tend to mix this polyurethane, remember it's got two parts, and you mix it 1-to-1 by volume, not by weight. But I've got those there because I have also been measuring them by weight. So that's the resin I'm using, the Solid Cast 660 polyurethane. Remember, I will put a link below in the description section of this video so you can see where Solid Solutions are. If you are elsewhere in the world, they can't send it through the mail, so you will need to find your own supplier, but it is a polyurethane resin. That's all you need to search for. Now the last thing I've got here is some petroleum jelly, and I'm going to use this, and I've got a rag in here, and I'm going to use this as a release agent. So it'll just help the resin come wood release or come away from the bowl when it's cured. So I'll just wipe that over, give it a good wipe over with that. I've already used this for at least a couple of other projects, but I'm sure it will be still fine. You'll also notice there's a hole in the bottom here, and that hole is in the centre of that circle there, or in the centre of the bowl, and I'll show you why that's important a bit later on. Okay, I've got the release agent or the petroleum jelly on there, and all I need to do now is get this piece of wood secured in there. To do that, I first need to get it running true, and because this has got a slight concave shape to it, I might even concave that so that's going to sit nice and flat on there and not wobble around. I'm also going to put a little bit of a hole right in the middle of this, and that will help me locate this blank onto my mould at a later stage by using this hole in the bottom here. So off to the lathe to get this trued up. So all I've done is turn this into a fairly straight-sided disc. I've undercut that just a little bit of a concave shape there, and I've put my live centre just to get that little hole there. That's my centre. There's a centre mark on my bowl, on my mould, so I can use those two to make sure that this goes in the centre of my mould. Now I've got this mark that I made with my live centre, and I'm going to drill a hole in there to accommodate a screw. I've got the depth I want to go. Not very deep at all, put that to one side. And there we have it. So this blank now is centered inside this mold of mine, and it's not going to move when I pour the resin in there or fiddle around with it. That hole that I've got there for the screw will be turned out later on, because there's a chance, there is the opportunity to hollow out the underneath of your foot so that you can get rid of that screw hole. The next thing to do is to get your swarf and to simply and randomly pack it in around the piece of wood. I've got plenty of swarf here. I'm reluctant to push it down really hard, because then you may run the risk of losing the shape of the swarf, and you might not get all of these swirls and so on going on. But that's something that you just need to experiment with. It doesn't have to be swarf, it could be all sorts of things that get loaded around there. I've used sticks, leaves perhaps, dry leaves. I've got plenty of swarf in there, I've got plenty of height. This bowl here wasn't nearly as high as this, so I've got plenty of depth there. And now I'm ready to pour my resin. Now I've used some scales to get my measurements, but you don't have to. You can use measuring cups and just get an even amount. So here they are, the two equal amounts by volume, and here is my mixing container and my mixing stick. So now I've got to work quickly, and I'm going to pour those two together and start stirring fairly quickly. One of the advantages of epoxy resin is that we've got a lot of time to work with, but the polyurethane resin we haven't got much time at all. And it is weather dependent, so in warmer weather you've got less time. Cooler weather, perhaps a little bit more time. Mix thoroughly, make sure that you scrape right around the edges so that you are mixing A and B together properly. We are not going to get bubbles in this material. What we do tend to get is a lot of air locks or voids created simply by the fact that you can't get the resin in all of those nooks and crannies of the shavings. So we've got that mixed thoroughly. Put that mixing stick to one side and start pouring into our mould. How much have I mixed? Well, I have mixed about 250 grams. If it's not enough, I'll just simply have to mix more up. But it's best to have too little than too much. Similar to the epoxy resin, when I'm using it, I tend to have another project on the go to use if I need to get rid of some excess resin. I'm moving around so that I'm just pouring, in a sense, a little bit at a time in any one area so that it's got a chance to get right into all the nooks and crannies as much as possible, and eliminate as much as possible the air pockets. Haven't got enough there, but remember this stuff actually does expand a little bit. I'd say it expands by about 5%. So I need to mix up some more and pour some more. One layer can be poured on top of another cured layer. And this is my second pour. The first layer hasn't quite cured. Now, as you can see, the colour of this is a sort of a honey colour or an amber colour, and as it's curing it actually does turn white. You can colour this. I would be putting pigments in here rather than dyes. Pigments give you a solid colour. Because the white is solid, I would be going for pigments, and you can colour this. But to colour this with what I'm doing now would defeat the purpose, because we've got that contrast, as I said earlier on, the contrast between the white polyurethane resin and the dark Swarf. So there's my second layer poured in, and I'm going to let that cure. And you can already see sections around here from the first pour that have already gone white. Now the other thing that you'll notice is you'll know it's curing because it does generate heat, and that is nice and warm. It doesn't take long to cure at all. So when we turn the camera back on, this will be cured, and it won't be all that long. I'll keep an eye on the clock. Right, we've had some lunch now, and it's about an hour since we did our pour. This is the mould. It's still a little bit warm, but basically cured as much as it will. I'm going to undo the screw from underneath, and then I'll release the composite from the bowl. Now I'll just pull that bowl. Oh, that's come away very easily. I was going to use this old bread knife to get in underneath there and scoop that around, but it just doesn't need it because it's just popping out there like that. So there it is. Now I've used about 500 ml of the polyurethane resin to get this bowl blank. It is 200 ml diameter, 8 inches in diameter. So as I said, 500 ml gives you about that size bowl blank. I've got my hole that I can use now to attach this back onto the screw chuck, and I'm going to turn this exactly the same way I would any other bowl, any other solid timber bowl that is. So that's it for the moulding up and the casting and everything like that. Off to the lathe now. I'm going to mount this blank using this hole onto this screw chuck quite simply. Wind that on. You could see that I had some packers there just to make the projection of the screw a lot shorter. So the hole into the blank, it doesn't need to be as long, and I just need to make sure I get that little hole out where the screw went through or into. But turning of these is really very straightforward. It is just like turning wood, a lot easier. In fact, this stuff comes off, this polyurethane comes off very, very easily. So let's go. Because the polyurethane's got no grain, I can actually cut up the hill, which is not normally what goes on. Hitting some timber there. just scraping here with a skew chisel just to get my profile that I want. I'm going to put a decorative little groove just at that intersection of the urethane and the wood, just with the tip of my skew chisel. I've got a scraper here. It's going to help me get this curve in here. So there's my foot, and I can put a recess in there. And apart from a bit of sanding, that's all I need to do with that. It's as easy as that. You can see some of the air pockets here, some of the voids. Here's another one just here. Just have to live with those. It's looking good though. So some sanding and that should be fine. Tidy this up. Beautiful tool. Look at those shavings. If you're getting shavings like that, you are going to be getting a beautiful clean cut. And what I'm doing here is I'm tending to pivot just on one point, and that will help me get a nice flowing curve in there. So that the tool is pivoting on the tool rest almost in one spot, a bit of lateral movement but not much, and that helps me get a lovely curve in there. Let's see how that looks. Look at that cut there, and a lovely curve in there. Beautiful. Just tidy this up a bit. That was a parting tool just to get a bit of a groove in around the rim here, or this section here. And I might just leave it at that. A bit of just finishing off this shaping here. Might just do a bit more shaping in here. Negative rake scrape. I just want to get this rim here a little bit thinner. So I've got a bit of sanding to do on this. The hardest part to sand is actually this timber. The easiest bit is this polyurethane. That sands very, very quickly, very, very easily. And I'm going to treat the polyurethane exactly the same as the timber, so I'm going to sand this to 500 grit, so this will get sanded to 500 grit as well. And then my finish is my favourite finish, which is a spray on nitrocellulose lacquer. So there it is, the timber, polyurethane and swarf bowl. Here's another one, a variation on the theme. This is more sort of a vase, the timber running all the way through once again. The only problem with this one, I think it was because it was so deep, the pour was so deep, there were so many more air pockets or voids in here. That's just something you need to live with, I'm afraid, because the urethane dries so quickly or cures so quickly and you have to pour it quickly. You can't use things like vacuum chambers or pressure chambers to overcome this sort of thing. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also check out uturn.tv, where there's a lot of wood turning information, but also there's ways to support my YouTubing efforts. Have a look at uturn.tv, and in the meantime, safe turning. I'll see you another time.